So good morning. Did I say gold? Good morning, grade 11. So we proceed with a discussion on doing philosophy. But last time, there was one question that was left with a different reaction. I did honestly did not expect that reaction from you. But I'd like it to be brought up again today. So here's that I'd like to share a screen to where we could find that question. Give me a few moments, few minutes to do this. Share. So can you now see this? I'll do the slide share option. There. Can everybody now see the last question? Again, the question is, if forced to make a choice, forced meaning you really have to make a choice here. If forced to make a choice between the death of a baby or the death of 10 baby dolphins, what would you choose? Let's ask prospect serial killers and murderers. Josh, the prospect murderer of Sungkulan.
I'd rather let both of them die than favor one.
Choose between the two, Josh, because it's not giving you the option to choose both. You just have to choose between the two.
I'd go for baby dolphins.
Why? Please enlighten us, Josh.
I'd rather choose for the 10 baby dolphins to live because the
I
weight
wait, I,
is
wait.
too much.
Okay. You'd rather choose for the 10 baby dolphins to live. Is that what
Yeah,
you're? So you'd rather let a baby die, a human baby die.
yeah.
Why?
Human babies are just like simple. Like two
Simple.
people just do it in one night and it'll be formed. Just wait for 9 months. While baby dolphins, like I don't think just the baby dolphins is. I think most of marine life are having a hard time trying to reproduce because of pollution in the ocean and different stuff companies are doing in the ocean.
Okay. Yeah, I get your point there. Thank you for your answer. Thank you for sharing, Josh. What about Sean? I'd like to listen to Sean. I'll give you the floor later on, James. Sean, which one would you choose? The death of a human baby or the death of 10 baby dolphins?
I were to choose, sir, probably um,
Don't worry. Your choice here doesn't speak of who you are. It does not define us. Our answers here will not define us. This is just for the purpose of answering this question. Besides, the condition here is you are really forced to make a choice. It's all right, Sean. It's all right, Sean. What would you
probably
choose?
a death of a baby, sir.
Go. Please enlighten us of your choice. Why?
Since if you would consider our world today, we live in a very populated world where people who just reproduce without family planning. That's why many babies today that are born and would grow up with poverty in their life.
Okay.
But with dolphins, they are being extinct because they are used for their flesh, for their fins. That's, and also, it's very hard for marine life to reproduce again. Since, again, um, certain species are facing extinction. That's why it's very hard for them to reproduce. But for humans, we dominate the world. So it's probably easy for us to find, partners
And
for
then make another baby.
and then make another baby, sir.
Okay. I also get your point, Sean. Thank you so much for sharing. James, what about you, James? You wanted to say something earlier.
I will
That's your
go against
choice.
them, sir.
You are,
I
I
would.
for sure, you've been wanting to say something in contrast to what they've expressed. Go,
Yes, sir.
enlighten us, James.
I
Why
would
would
I
you
would
rather keep
choose to
a
kill the
baby?
10 baby dolphins because if their point is that we are overpopulated and the dolphins numbers are outnumbered and it's easier for us to to populate or to have another baby, then my point is that uh, a human baby has infinite potentials compared to 10 baby dolphins. That human baby can grow up and um that human baby has a vast potential when he grows up. He can provide help to save more dolphins when he grows up. If that's the case, for example, the baby will grow up to become a marine biologist, and he um he finds a way to save or
The dolphin. Preserve dolphin.
to preserve dolphins. Yes, my point is that that baby has infinite potentials. In the long run, that baby can do many things compared to those 10 dolphins. And of course, I would choose my own. I would choose the preserve. I would choose to preserve my own kind compared to other species.
For some reasons, James, that last part of your answer sounded as though your, your classmates belong to a different kind. That's why they're trying to preserve the dolphin
No,
population.
no. I mean, I choose my own kid, brother.
Okay, I also get your from where. Yeah, I also get your background, James, in from where you're getting your answer. Thank you, thank you. Anybody else? I'd like to call Alona. Which one would you try to kill? Which one would you wish to be dead? A baby or 10 baby
Uh,
dolphins?
a A10 baby dolphins.
You'd like 10 baby dolphins to die?
Yeah,
So you're going
the
to
same
let
answers.
a baby, same as James's option or choice.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
why?
same as the other choice because
Wait.
it's like
Let
the
me
world
make
is
it clear.
already
So you'd rather want one baby to die and you let 10 baby dolphins live.
and to
Okay,
live.
go.
Yeah, because we have this lesson with Pao last grade 7. We have this mission to save the Earth mission. So our mission there was to like um kill a lot of humans. It's just like that. So that the Earth will be not anymore polluted. A lot of people are already destroying the Earth. That's why I choose to have 10 baby dolphins for them to have a balance in our ecosystem. Because we lack a lot of marine species nowadays. That's why that
Will that be all? Alona, will that be
sorry.
all? Is there something else
Yeah.
you'd like to add? Okay. Thank you so much, Alona, for your
Mm.
sharing. I'm kind of getting now where your backgrounds are regarding your answers. A number of you are focusing on the realistic status of the marine life. That in order to continue its preservation, we killing one baby will be better than killing 10 dolphins. Well, James' background is that I'm on a different background on what potentials we can still see from a baby compared to the potentials that the world could enjoy from 10 dolphins. But that is not to say that James does not see potentials from dolphins. It is just that there are there is an infinite number of potentials more available for humans for that baby to show later on compared to what dolphins can bring to the world. We are not saying that dolphins don't bring anything good, but your other classmates, James, also make a point, a very good point. that realistically speaking, much of the danger and the harm felt or suffered by by marine life is brought about by humans. Dolphins are just a few of the many who have suffered from these harms, from this case. And so, it's high time that we repopulate the dolphin population. Harm or killing one baby or the death of one baby does not define the end of the human race. I think that's the standpoint of others. That the death of one baby is fine. It does not mean the end of the human population. And the preservation of 10 baby dolphins, allow me to use the term of Alona, might actually contribute to the balance that we need to find in this ecosystem. Is there anybody else who would like to share something for the last question? Because last Tuesday when this question was flashed, your reactions were really different. I did not see that reaction from the first 5 questions. Or perhaps one would like to really openly say, no sir, I'd like 10 baby dolphins to be kept alive because they're way cuter than a baby. Well, your backgrounds, your way of reasoning actually speaks of the philosophy that you're kind of embracing right now. Soon we will arrive at what these terms are, specific philosophy terms are. But the truth is, yes, you have now followed a particular philosophy. You are now embracing a particular philosophy. By your choice of answer to these 6 questions, you have now shown to me the philosophy that you are imbibing. But that does not also mean that that philosophy holds throughout your entire life. Experience may then provide you another option later on. Experience might then demand that it's also proper and appropriate to look for another philosophy to follow and observe. At this age of yours, or perhaps 18, 17, 18 years, 17 years of existence might have already guided your experiences, might have already guided you to arrive at this choice of philosophy. But in the long run, the moment you continue to experience more things, the moment you continue going through the life's struggles, hardships, successes, and joys, your mind might just give you another option of a philosophy, or you are a combination of philosophies. Thank you for doing your sharing for the 6 questions. Now we go with defining philosophy. Philosophy is can be defined etymologically. Yeah, I think it's all right that we start with the etymological approach of defining philosophy. Looking at philosophy to be composed of 2 Greek words. We have philos, which is translated in English as love, and Sophia, translated in English as wisdom. That is why it is simply being referred to as the love of wisdom. Philosophy is etymologically defined as the love of wisdom. Soon, it is seen to be a study or discipline that uses human reason to investigate the ultimate causes, reasons, and principles that govern all things. It is also believed that philosophers are lovers of wisdom. There are also assumptions that govern the world of philosophy. One is philosophers are the ones who are engaged in doing philosophy, and they're called lovers of wisdom. Philosophy is also seen as a bunch of crap that people do when they want to make money but don't want to work. This is the layman's perspective of philosophy. Philosophy is trying to answer questions through observation and thought. It could be a formula to life or an informed way of life. By empiricism, by making use of observation and rationalization, explanations can be provided to answer questions that surround life. In a way, you are informing yourself of how life works. Philosophy is the different people's views of life, death, and the afterlife. A clear proof to this is your varying answers to the questions that were given, just to the 6 questions that were given. You arrived at a point where one has given a different answer, different in a sense that it is in disagreement to what the other said. Answers to questions or arguing. So it's going beyond what's obviously seen. This is actually applicable so much in literature and even in areas where you need to interpret phenomenon or situation. Philosophy is how a person thinks, and that's quite a given, as it has with reasons, with a thought, so it has something to do with how a person thinks. Philosophy is sitting around, smoking cigarettes, and getting into deep discussions about life's little quirks. It does not going deeper into how life works. Sitting around smoking cigarettes, these may be means by which people can concentrate. These are just a few of the ways themselves meditating to understand deeper the little quirks of life. Philosophy is a rational inquiry into the nature of the universe, both physical and metaphysical. An attempt to understand how the universe works, based on how the physical universe and what's beyond the universe. Meta is already beyond the physical world. Philosophy is an in-depth reasoning about literary works, analyzing. So I said that earlier. In the field of literature, in an attempt to analyze literary works, philosophy can become so useful. Why? Because interpretations to these literary works can be helped and assisted by philosophy. Philosophy is a search for truth through the contemplation to reach a higher sense of self or self-actualization. Last 2 assumptions, philosophy as a body of knowledge provides methodologies and insights on how societal questions, such as moral dilemmas of euthanasia or same-sex marriage, can be answered. So philosophy can actually be used to respond to issues the community is actually facing. Societal questions that the community needs to answer. On whether one becomes morally acceptable or not, philosophy can come to be a good tool to provide an answer. To determine moral, there's a better term for that. A moral, perhaps I can go into it. It's not a moral dilemma, but like a moral standard. To know what moral standards should be considered, philosophy may provide a good answer. On the other hand, philosophy as an intellectual activity is an analytic procedure. It requires analysis of addressing individual thought processes, such as resolving conflict and confusion, testing positions, analyzing beliefs. And in all instances, doing philosophy is prescribed by logic, reason, and ethics, leading to wisdom. Let us highlight that last part, this part. When we do philosophy, and if our goal is to really achieve wisdom, philosophy should be done with logic and reason, should be done with analysis, but we must not forget ethics. We should not forget that in our attempt to provide an answer to a question or an answer to an issue, we should also see what makes it right, what makes it answer right, or the answer might not actually be a good one, a morally acceptable one, and so ethics comes in. In philosophy, there are a lot of notable philosophers, but allow me to limit ourselves with what your notes have just provided for now. Starting with this person. Who is this person? He is Pythagoras. The person has been commonly known as the founder of the Pythagorean theorem. He is a mathematician and a scientist who has been credited with the formulating of the Pythagorean theorem. At the same time, he established a community of learners devoted to the study of religion and philosophy. By the way, I just would like to inform you that the things found in these slides regarding the philosophers are not actually found in your notes. The ones found in your notes are related more or less to their background of family, um, where they're from. These are the information that can be found in your notes. But for the ones that will be found in these PowerPoint slides, they are more of what they have contributed, what they have shared and brought to this world. Like for instance, in the case of Pythagoras, other than his Pythagorean theorem, he is a philosopher who is devout who is a devout learner to the fields of religion and philosophy. Next, who is next to Pythagoras? We have this man. He is Heraclitus, who proposed that everything that exists is based on a higher order or plan, which he called logos. According to him, change is a permanent aspect of the human condition, such that no man never steps in the same river twice. So that's the idea. That's one highlighted idea coming from Heraclitus. Change is a permanent aspect of the human condition. And that's his famous line. No man never steps into the same river twice. So man is really expected to undergo a state of change. And that is this precept of Heraclitus is even brought up to the present time. It may have been translated in other terms, but the meaning remains the same. Now people call it as nothing in this world is in this world is permanent but change. Or change is the only constant thing in this world. Regardless of how the statement is phrased, the idea of change being indispensable or being ascribed to human nature has been attributed to Heraclitus. Next to Heraclitus is this man. Who is he? He is Democritus, who studied the causes of natural phenomena, and he was among the first to propose that matter is composed of tiny particles called atoms. So he provided the atomic theory. The atomic theory explaining that all matters in this world are composed of tiny particles called atoms. Next to Democritus is this man. The name is Diogenes. It's not Diogenes, Diogenes. Who is known for his simple and virtuous way of living life. In fact, he also translated that to his followers. He wanted them to be advocates of a simple and a virtuous life. Accordingly, one should not only talk of virtue, but should show it in words and actions. Diogenes does not believe in pure declaration of virtue through words. Virtue should rather be shown. That's how Diogenes lived his life. To 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 concretize a life of simplicity and austerity, it made him appear like a beggar. Another thing that you need to be in Diogenes' choice of living a simple and virtuous life is that he believed that your level of satiety, how you could be satiated, is not equivalent to the wealth that you should possess. That satisfaction is a matter of conditioning, that you need not live an extravagant life for you to consider satisfied. A simple life, a virtuous life, made him understand that everything in this world that just comes to pass, and there's no need to have so much of anything. A simple life, a life of simplicity and austerity, is more than enough. Next to Diogenes is this man in the name of Epicurus. His philosophy could enable man to live a life of happiness. He focuses on a life of happiness, He created a school, or his followers created a school of Epicureanism, a school of philosophy which believes that wisdom and simple life and simple living will result in a life free of fear and pain. And he termed that as, there's a term that he actually gave to it, and he termed it as Ataraxia, a life that is free of fear and pain. So that's a life of happiness. This man, in the name of Socrates, considered to be the foremost philosopher of ancient times, of the ancient times. He did not claim, though, to be wise, himself a midwife that helped inquiring minds achieve wisdom. He believed that philosophy could enable man to live a life of virtue, and he also formulated the Socratic method. The Socratic method is one that's also practiced as of this time. It is the means of examining a topic by devising a series of questions to let the learner examine and analyze his knowledge and review the topic. This is the moment of raising questions and soliciting answers. Just like what happened before in our class, or when you were in your younger years, teachers would throw in a question and would solicit answers from you. Teachers would give out a question. That question is supposed to make learners think or stir their minds to think for an answer. The Socratic method allows learners to think for themselves. And once that learner is called, the answer will be provided. And perhaps that answer would make the teacher raise another question, and the process continues. It just goes on. That's how the Socratic method works. Question, answer. It's the question and answer method. We have also this man in the name of Plato, who is a student of Socrates, and he wrote down his mentor's teachings and incorporated some of his own. His teachings and writings were considered the foundation of Western philosophy. From Western philosophy, we actually have the name of Thales, Thales. It's not in the list though. Thales, who happened to have understood well the works of Plato, and was then considered, Thales was then eventually considered as the father of Western philosophy. His name to be the father of Western philosophy. But let's bring ourselves back to Plato. If Socrates developed the Socratic method, Plato developed a dialectic method, a method of inquiry where two opposing ideas are discussed in an attempt to arrive at new knowledge. The Socratic method works by raising a question and then getting an answer. The dialectic method works by trying to get opposing answers, synthesizing them to arrive at a shared understanding or common knowledge. For instance, just like what happened with question number 6. For question number 6 of the 6 questions posted earlier, there were students who gave an answer of preserving the lives of the 10 baby dolphins, while James wasn't hesitant to express himself in saying that he'd rather let the 10 baby dolphins die in order to preserve the life of one human baby. That presents opposition, a sample of a dialectic method. But for what idea were we trying to arrive at? Both answers are geared towards the preservation of life. And that once that life is preserved, it is meant for a purpose. Like for instance, in the case of James, we will preserve human life, the life of that single baby, of that human baby, because that life is for an infinite number of potentials that can be beneficial to mankind later on. See, there's a purpose. In the case of the 10 baby dolphins' lives, they will be preserved for the purpose of repopulation. There is still another purpose. So we can arrive at the conclusion that even if your ideas oppose, you both agree that in that attempt to preserve life, there is actually an intended goal in doing so. Once life is preserved, there is a reason for preservation. There is an intended goal for life's preservation. The dialectic method of Plato can be credited to that. Plato also founded the Academy, which is an institution of higher learning, which was the first of its kind in the Western world. So it's an academic. That's where the word academic is taken, as this is an institution of higher learning. The word has actually been used up to this time. That is why in the modern world, in the present time, the word academy is related to buildings or institutions that provide learning or the development of a skill. Like as in the case of the name of our school, doesn't really use the word academy, but it uses a conjugation of that word, and that's academe. They mean the same thing, more or less. They mean the same thing, and that makes IA an institution of learning as well. The order is Socrates, followed by Plato. Socrates is the teacher of Plato, and Plato is the teacher of this guy. He is. I'd like to get your pronunciation of his name. I'd like to call Christopher. Can you please pronounce the name for us, Christopher? Because people actually have varying pronunciations of this.
Aristotle, sir.
Okay, Aristotle. Christopher pronounces it as Aristotle. It's fine, Christopher. It's all right. What about sure? How would you pronounce this word, sure?
Aristotle.
Again?
Aristotle.
Aristotle. What about Rodney? How would you pronounce this word?
Aristotle.
Again?
Aristotle.
Aristotle. Because for that, thank you for those who try to give me their pronunciations. I would not say that your pronunciations are wrong. Take note. Your pronunciations are acceptable and correct. But I also have listened to some who pronounce the word as Aristotle. Like Aristotle. Earlier, in fact, for the name of Socrates, you'll find people pronouncing the word as Socrates. I don't know if there are really others who pronounce it as Socrates. Quite a number have really pronounced the word as Socrates, but I've also heard others pronounce it as Socrates. And I like it. I find it better than Socrates. Socrates sounds better than Socrates. Aristotle, for me, would make it sound more impactful to me. Of course, you also have your own ways of pronouncing words, and that's fine. He attended the academy and he is a prominent student of Plato. All ideas and views are based on perception, and our reality is based on what we can sense and perceive. Aristotle gives us the concept of empiricism. He's actually the one who told us that things are better understood and perceived if you make use of your senses. Doing so makes you understand reality, because your senses can only perceive what's really available at that time. Your senses cannot perceive what's going on in an ideal world. Reality is catered to by what the senses can just grasp. That's empiricism. Aristotle studied logic that led to the formulation of a formal process of analyzing using deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning being the process of which specific statements are analyzed to reach a conclusion or generalization. So that's from specific to general, deductive. If it's general to specific, that is inductive. Question now is, why is there a need to philosophize? Plato presents to us, wait, Cedric will have to be admitted. Plato presents to us the concept of curiosity. We philosophize because of the sense of wonder that we feel, especially if there are things around us that we can't explain. The name of Rene Descartes gives us the reason of doubt. Because of our tendency to reject or question ideas, we then philosophize. Let's not forget that Rene Descartes has also contributed one great line into the field of philosophy. He's the one, other than his contribution in mathematics for the Cartesian coordinate plane, he is the one who has provided us the line in philosophy that goes, I think, therefore I am. Rene Descartes is credited for that. Karl Jaspers, a modern Western existentialist, gave us the reason that we philosophize because experience limits us. Remember empiricism of Aristotle? Empiricism provides experience, and our experiences are limited. I mean, like as of this time, I'm only limited to what I'm experiencing right now. Because situations limit us, because experiences limit us, there is a tendency that we should philosophize. Lastly, Socrates tells us that we philosophize for the sheer love of wisdom, because of our insatiable desire for truth, because of our desire, because of that desire to continually learn more, we philosophize. Because we want to continue understanding the things that surround us, we philosophize. And part of this process of philosophizing are two ways of thinking. We can see things in a general perspective or in a broader term, that's in a holistic way of thinking, or we can see them at a partial way of thinking, at a particular perspective. Holistic thinking is a perspective that considers the larger scale, a large-scale pattern in systems described as looking at the bigger picture. Whereas the partial way of thinking is focused on certain areas or aspects, and these are ways that we can use to understand. These are the aspects that we can use to understand better a situation. Practical uses of philosophy in our lives. Philosophy is used in these situations. It enables a person to engage in critical analysis and interpretation of concepts, definitions, arguments, and problems. It improves problem solving and decision making, as philosophy allows you to use reason and logic, more or less, it guides you to arrive at better decisions, to arrive at better solutions to solve a problem. A philosopher is a good communicator who can clearly and adequately present his or her ideas. Please remove the S, in case it's in your copy, please remove the S in presents. Wisdom is one intended product of philosophizing that refers to a person's ability to apply knowledge to daily life, particularly in making sound choices and judgment. So going back, once someone has developed wisdom or has done philosophy, take note, with reason, logic, and ethics. We pointed that out earlier. With reason, logic, and ethics, one's process of philosophy will have been led towards wisdom. And achieving it allows one to develop sound choices and judgment. So in simple words, philosophy is actually done because it helps us think of many things, including those that leave us confused. I think I'm glad that it's nice that I have placed that in your notes. Philosophy is done because it allows us to think of many things, including those that leave us confused or those without an acceptable answer. In the event that it proves itself as something that is a challenge for us to really answer or find an answer with, then philosophy can serve as a good guide. We either make use of experience, we either make use of background information, We may make use of philosophical approaches so that we may be able to arrive at an answer to significant questions or ones that have left us confused. I'll stop the sharing of the screen there for now. Do we have some questions? For the contents of the PowerPoint, the only parts that are not reflected, the part that isn't reflected in your notes would be for the notable philosophers. The discussion on the notable philosophers are, in terms of their contribution, are the only ones that are not found in your notes. For all other parts of the PowerPoint presentation, they're actually seen in your notes. Questions? By the way, can you still hear me? Because my AirPods prompted on something. Can I still be heard?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can still be heard.
Please go. I hope you have. I think most of you are using your phone. Regardless, it can still be fine. I hope you have opened your Edmodo page by now. Do you open your Edmodo page together with Zoom?
No.
Please try opening your Edmodo page.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to Edmodo. And then there is going to be a question that I'll post on our Edmodo class in Philo. I'll post it. And then I'd like you to present your answers in the comment box. How many are you again in total from this class? 14, 15?
16, sir.
16? Or 16, 17? So I expect to get the same number of comments. Each of you will have to answer the question by placing that answer in the comment box, in the comment section. For a while, I'm taking time opening my Edmodo page.
Wait, I'm not part of the Philo class. Teka.
Who is it?
Me.
James, the class code was given last time.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes. Huh?
Josh, you're raising your hand. By the way, grade 11, did you know that there's a new student in your class?
Sir, they're asking for the code.
Huh? Wait,
Josh and Allen.
I'll open intro to Philo.
Also me, sir, I'm not part of the...
Wait, how come that you have not known of the class code when there are already 12 students in this class? That simply means that I've already given the class code. Okay, to those who don't have the class code yet, here's the class code for Philo. A while. That's the class code for Intro to Philo. I'll pose a question here. There's just one question that I'm going to raise, that I'm going to post, and then your answers are expected to be found in the comment box. There, I posted the question already. Please go to your respective Edmodo pages for Intro to Philo, and then provide your answers there in the comment section. Please try to answer in a complete sentence. This is where my being an English teacher again comes in. Please try your best to answer in a complete sentence. James, have you already joined the class
Yes, sir.
in Philo?
I don't see the post though.
The post is below the Edmodo post.
Sorry.
The Edmodo post has actually been pinned so that it's going to be the first post that you'll see every time. So that when you join our Zoom call, you would not have to scroll down to look for the link. Excuse me for a while. By the way, with permission from Ma'am Zen, I have to also inform you this. With permission from Ma'am Zen, there may be some times in our discussion where I will not anymore give an FT because the nature of Philo is purely theoretical. So expect that after this, after having expressed your answers in the comment box of our Philo Edmodo class, the ST will still proceed on Saturday morning. Excuse me for a while. Hello, can you hear me now? Can you again hear
Yes,
me?
sir.
Okay, I'm changing the audio. I'm now going to leave to make my Zoom account leave. So we are now back to just you. My other account will not anymore be. Have you now placed your answer there? Oh, no comment has come out yet. I think those who are placing their faces close to the camera are using their phones.
I posted, sir.
Okay, thank you, James. If you have already posted your answer, then it's all right. You can now then leave this Zoom call. Our class has already ended there, so just make sure to study the notes for the ST scheduled on Saturday morning through Edmodo.
Yes.
You'll take it's an easy one. Anyway, don't make difficult STs.
Here we go again.
To the new students, even if you have to, my God, it's recorded. To the new students, even if you try asking the ones who were students of mine last year, for sure they'd tell you that my STs have always been very easy.
The biggest scam.
Rans, you don't put the answer here, Rans. You put the answer in Edmodo, Rans. You don't put the answer in the chat box in Zoom, Rans, because this will actually just be closed. Put your answer in Edmodo. That was my instruction, Rans. I'd like to see answers. So I'd like to cut the recording here for now because this will now be the end of our discussion for this morning.